Welcome back. You know, we spend so much time staring at the two cards in our own hand, but what if I told you the real money is in figuring out the person sitting across from you? Today, we're going to stop playing our cards and start playing the player. We're breaking down how to read, adapt, and exploit every common type of opponent you'll ever face.
So let me ask you this, and be honest. Are your cards holding you back? If you feel like you're just sitting there, waiting for pocket aces to finally show up before you win a pot, then yeah, they absolutely are. See, the real secret to crushing poker isn't about getting better hands. It's about understanding your opponent's tendencies better than they understand yours.
So here's our game plan for today. We'll start with how to win before the flop even hits the table. Then, we'll dive into mastering the turn and the river. After that, we'll put on our detective hats and decode what their bets are really telling us. And finally, we'll put it all together into the single most important thing, the exploitative mindset.
All right, let's get right into it. Winning before the flop. So many people think the game starts on the first 3 community cards come out, but the truth is, a ton of pots are won or lost right here. Your decisions before you see a flop are your first and often best chance to seize control.
First up, let's talk about the limp-raiser. Oh, you know this guy. He's the one who acts all passive and weak, just calling the big blind. But secretly, he's sitting on a monster, like aces or kings. He does this because he's terrified that if he raises first, everyone will just fold. So instead, he sets this little old-school trap, just waiting for someone else to raise so he can pounce with a huge re-raise.
So how do we dismantle this obvious little trap? It's a simple 3-step plan. First, when he limps, do not do his dirty work for him by raising with your mediocre hands. Just check or limp along. Second, if you do happen to raise and he springs his trap, you have to have the discipline to just fold, unless you're holding a monster yourself. But here's the real key, step 3. When that same player breaks his pattern and raises from the start instead of limping, bam, that's your green light. Attack him, because you have a super strong read that he doesn't have aces or kings.
Okay, next up is a player I call the cold calling 3-better. Now, 3-bet is just a fancy term for a re-raise before the flop. So picture this. You raise, another player re-raises you, and then this player just calls. That one simple action, just calling instead of re-raising again, tells you almost everything you need to know about his hand.
And this chart shows you exactly why this is so valuable. Look at that. The bar representing monster hands like aces or kings is tiny. Why? Well, think about it. If you had pocket aces, would you just call a re-raise? Of course not. You'd re-raise again. So their range of hands is what we call capped. They're basically telling you, I have a good hand, but not a great one. We're talking pocket tens, pocket jacks, ace-queen, which is a golden opportunity for you, the original raiser, to put the pressure on and take the pot down right there.
All right, we've navigated the pre-flop minefield. Now, on to part 2, mastering the later streets. The flop is out. This is where the pots start to get juicy, and your ability to read people becomes absolutely critical.
Let's talk about the trappy player. This is the opponent who flops a monster, like a set, and instead of betting out, they check. They're laying in the weeds, just hoping you'll bet so they can spring a check raise on you. It's a classic slow play, and honestly, it can be super effective if you're not paying attention.
So how do we turn the tables on the trapper? The move is a little counterintuitive. First, on the turn, bet small. You're basically dangling bait. You want them to spring their trap, but for a cheap price. Now here's the crucial part. When they do check raise you, you just call. Do not re-raise them back. Why? Because when they make this specific move, their hand is almost always a monster. By just calling, you control the pot size and you keep yourself from losing your whole stack.
And now for the complete opposite of the trapper, this super aggressive player. This opponent is a tornado of chips. They are constantly betting and raising with everything, strong hands, draws, and pure unadulterated bluffs. They put you under relentless pressure, forcing you to make tough decisions for all your money all the time.
The key to beating this player is to let them do all the hard work. It's like poker judo. You use their aggression against them. First, when you have a strong hand on a safe turn card, make a huge overbet, a bet that's bigger than the pot, to get max value from their inability to fold. Second, you have to be willing to call their check raises more often. Remember, they bluff constantly, so you can't just fold every time. And finally, you can even use their aggression to run a powerful bluff yourself when you have a draw. Okay, let's move on to my favorite part, Section 3, decoding your opponent's bets. This is where we stop playing cards and start being detectives. Every single bet your opponent makes tells a story, and the size of that bet is a major clue. Our job is to read those clues.
This all comes down to a concept called sizing tells. Most players aren't robots. They're predictable, and without even knowing it, they'll often bet a different amount of chips with a strong hand than they do with the weak hand. They're giving away free information, if you're just paying attention.
And here it is, the most common tell in the entire world of poker. A player hits a strong hand, they get excited, and they bet big. They want to get value or protect their hand. But when they have a draw or a weaker hand, they bet small, hoping to see the next card for cheap. Once you spot this pattern in a player, it's like playing with cheat codes on.
Now for a very specific and very profitable tell, the river donk bluffer. A donk bet is just a poker term for when a player who was just calling the whole time suddenly leads out and bets on the next card. And when you see this on the river, especially when a flush or straight draw just missed, it's a massive red flag. It's almost always a desperate bluff from someone whose hand didn't come in. It's designed to look strong, but it's screaming weakness.
Exploiting this is just beautiful. First, when they make that weird river bet, your job is to become a bluff catcher. You can call them down with a much wider range of hands than you'd normally think. Sometimes just top pair is enough. And on the flip side, if the draw misses and they check to you instead, well, that's also a sign of weakness. That's your green light to fire a big bluff of your own, because they've basically told you they've given up.
So, we've gone over tactics for pre-flop, post-flop, and reading bets. We have all these individual plays in our arsenal. But now, it's time to zoom out, because this isn't about memorizing tricks. This is about a fundamental shift in how you think about the game of poker itself.
And this quote is the absolute core of it all. Your goal isn't to play a perfect robotic strategy. Your goal is to be an information sponge. You watch your opponents, you identify their specific mistakes, and then you adapt your own strategy to punish those mistakes. The best players in the world are simply the best adapters.
So as we wrap this up, I'm going to leave you with this one thought. The next time you sit down to play, don't just stare at your own 2 cards. Look for the player who limps and re-raises. Find the one who makes tiny bets on the flop. Every single action is a piece of a puzzle. And the only real question is, who are you going to be exploiting at the table tonight?
Start a live chat now to join one of our clubs or ask us any questions. Message at BluffingMonkeys24_7 on Telegram or visit bluffingmonkeys.com and start a live chat.